Congratulations, you have found the page that is dedicated to all things drama, all things theatre, and we are South African, so we are focusing on the curriculum. So both the CAPS and the IUP curriculum, no one is left behind, no one is going to be no child is going to be left behind when it comes to dramatic arts in high school level. So even if you are a varsity student, we are going to be breaking down and discussing some concepts that are going to be there in varsity, and also you guys are going to be studying about. So, first of all, we'd like to say to the matric class of 2024 doing dramatic arts, we have got you guys. We are going to walk you guys through this, and hopefully, we are going to make a difference when it comes to your dramatic arts marks. So, obviously, even if you're in grade 10 or 11, please feel free to be part of this, because we're also going to be discussing topics that you guys are also going to be starting probably in the next year or so. So even when it comes to your practicals as well, we're going to be posting content on how to help you guys give the best performances ever. However, good news is we also do offer tutoring lessons for this much. That is our hourly rate. And if you would like to be in contact with us to ask us any question that you want to ask drama related, we are happy to answer your DMs. And if you want to book a lesson, please do also via DMs. Also, please do check out our YouTube channel called Theatre Conversations, whereby we usually post notes. It's mostly entirely just notes, so just go there and subscribe and check out our notes. We try to post them every week. But now we are moving on to TikTok because it's much faster and quicker, and you are able to engage with our topics. So the first topic of our first video, YouTube TikTok video ever, is postmodernism. Postmodernism is such a has been such a hard topic to grasp and also to explain. And the reason why it has been tough to explain or grasp, or whatever end you cater, or you are the student, it is because it is quite a new topic in our curriculum. So sometimes it could be difficult to try and explain it, but we are going to do our best because we are here to help. So, first of all, before we even talk about postmodernism, we're going to talk about modernism. So, modernism was an era or a theater style technique that existed in the 1800s, the 19th century. So in the 19th century, there was sort of like a grand narrative, and theater stuck to its traditions. So when you think about traditions in theater, you have to think about the well-made play, you have to think about the structure, you have to think about the grand narrative, which is obviously just one truth. So truth is, for example, there is a God, religion is the way, and whatnot. So that is the grand narrative. So then everything sort of followed just a linear narrative, which is why then our theater followed a linear plot, which is just in 3 acts. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Scene 2, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And also, so then it followed a certain structure that began here. And then there was the growing plot. And then there was a climax, and then it dropped in the end. So that is how theater was in being played out. So when you think about also traditional theater, you have to think of what theater actually was meant to represent. So theater was meant to be a mirror that you hold up to society, and it reflects what society is actually like. But then in the mid 20th century, in the 1900s, the end of World War II left people very shaken, but also left people very disillusioned, meaning that people were actually now much more skeptical, and people were now questioning things. They were questioning a lot of things, including the existence of God. So people were questioning religion. People needed answers. They did not understand why reality was somehow now just in this, weird state. Nothing is what it used it seems like before. Nothing is what it used to be before. And so then that is the introduction of postmodern theater. Postmodern theater was in theater that represented that disillusionment, that skepticism in people's minds. So then theater was no longer following a linear plot. There was no longer a grand narrative. They did away with the grand narrative. They completely deconstructed the grand narrative. So when you deconstruct a grand narrative, that means that you now have you're pulling from different narratives. It means that now there is an intertextuality, which is why you're pulling from different texts to construct a new narrative. So postmodernism was aiming to shift how humans perceive life. So it wasn't a tool to make people think of life differently, but it was reflecting what life was now in the new reality of the 20th century. So postmodernism was a was then a term that was coined for a broad cultural and artistic movement that then started in the 20th century, reacting against those ideas of the originality that was written in the 19th century of what life is. So the focus now was on fragmentation, and blending various styles together to form a new reality, new performance, new theater. I'm going to give you guys an example. So the example is when you think of a collage is a combination of pictures, and there will be words here and there, but most of the time it is visuals. So when you hold up a collage and you're holding up a collage and you're seeing a picture in the collage, this picture can stand alone. It is just a picture. And for instance, this is just a book of plays. So this book of plays is complete as it is. It doesn't necessarily need any help. But if I hold that book of plays against this book, it's it's a very good book. You should read it. I hold it against this book, and then you add another book onto it. You now have a series, fragments, that complete what I'm holding up right here. So whatever my narrative is, it's going to be drawn from this book, and this book to form a narrative of some sort. So then postmodernism plays are like that. So they draw from, so they are a series or episode or pieces together that piece together and form a complete set of work, rather than having a linear plot or one storyline that has to start somewhere. We meet the characters, there's a development of the characters, there's something that happens, conflict, whatever, and then it is resolved. But postmodernism plays were not really like that. Most of the time, we don't really get a backstory of the character. Most of the time, we don't even have a name of the character. The point is, we're not necessarily supposed to be attached to the character, which is what traditional theater does. We attach to a character and we move with the character. We feel something for the character. We have an emotional connection to the character. However, in postmodernism, we're supposed to have an emotional connection to whatever it is that they're saying. So it makes us an active audience. So we are awake. And we're not just internalizing the character, but we're internalizing the message that the character is trying to deliver. I hope that makes sense. So, because I do not know the backstory of The Secret on its own, but I am reading and consuming what The Secret is trying to tell me, I am an active audience member. I'm not just sitting there switching off my brain and internalizing everything, but I'm interpreting whatever is happening here. So also in postmodernism plays, you also have to consider the fact that the audience now started also being part of the performance, because they started being included as part of the performance as well. So whether they are aware of the fact that they are part of the performance or they're not aware of the fact that they're part of the performance, but it was a new theater technique to make sure that we have an active audience member. That is the end of the video. Please make sure you like, follow, and share for more content.